Most people think selling a house is simple. Just clean it up, list it, put it on the market, sell it, close, get some cash. But the reality is what you do before your house hits the market can change your outcome by the net of 10 to 20% net difference in sales price. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the basic steps of exactly what happens when you sell your house, things you have to think about, things you have to execute on, and that initial decision I'm going to sell to all the way to closing so you know where your deals are won and where sellers lose money. Welcome back to the Wilton Report. I'm Josh Wilton, and I co-own and run the #1 boutique agency here in Central New Jersey, and I can say the only locally owned and operated real estate company in Princeton. And I've helped thousands of people buy and sell real estate, which gives me a front row seat to help you make smarter decisions. So let's dive right in. So the first thing is the decision. It is not a light decision to sell your house. And this is not, I'm not saying like you've been in the house 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you got relocated for your job. I'm kind of focused mentally on the folks who've been in their house like 15 plus years, because you tend to accumulate a lot of stuff, and or your kids were in that house, because again, not only do you tend to accumulate your stuff, you tend to accumulate your kids' stuff. I was talking to a seller this week, and she was kind of laughing, kind of crying, saying, "You wouldn't believe all the stuff I have for Christmas." And I'm like, you wouldn't believe what I've seen, right? People have. So, the first thing is, the decision to sell. And it's not a light one. There's a lot that goes in it, right? But the first thing is, are you selling right now because it makes sense for you, right? Don't sell for the wrong reasons. Obviously, if there's financial pressure, that's one thing. Life happens, that's another, right? But the reality is the first thing you should write down or put in a Google Calendar or a calendar is, what's your timeline? Where do you want to be and when? So if you're moving from New Jersey to New York City, which people are, when do you want to be moved into New York City? Do you have a place to move? Have you secured an apartment? Is the purchase or the lease contingent upon the sale of real estate? What's your financial flexibility? Meaning, what if you have to buy before you sell? Like, there's a lot that goes into this. Have you spoken to a loan officer? What's your cash position in the house? Meaning, are you going to be upside down? Do you have equity? So a lot of times when you're selling a house or thinking of selling a house, you rush. And unfortunately, I will say that a lot of brokers will rush to get you on the market. I tend to preach the opposite. Please slow down. Please, let's talk about it. Please have a plan. Where are you going? When do you want to move in? Let's work backwards, right? And then we look at the condition of the house. So the first thing is the decision and where you want to go and when you want to get there. And we just simply work backwards. So if you want to be somewhere in 6 months, we have a 6 months look back that we can plan. We can, create an action plan to sell your house. If we have 90 days, which isn't ideal, right? Or 60 days, which is a little less ideal, it's going to be a pretty intense process, right? So just the first thing I would tell you is, where are you going? When do you want to get there? Let's look at the calendar and work backwards. That's number one. So most selling decisions that struggle, or people that struggle with selling decisions that start here, they don't work backwards from a date. So pick a date, work backwards. Number two, the prep phase. Now, if you've ever listened to this podcast or this report, start painting now. If you're moving in a year, call John Walsh and start decluttering. Call me, right? 609-773-8054. I'll recommend someone who can start helping you declutter, donate, throw out, right? Do not move twice. Don't bring everything with you and then deal with it at your destination. If you have 90 days, 12 months, start the process today. It does take time to empty your house. So decluttering, emptying, moving items out, donating. This is not a light responsibility. Moreover, usually sellers, right? They are like what we call dual income, right? There's a lot of people working. They only have weekends and evenings. This is not an easy thing to do. So if you need help, you let it reach out. We'll get you in touch with a professional who can help you. If you want to kind of take it on your own, start now. Start moving stuff out. The second thing is, as you move stuff out, right? Start painting. Paint a neutral color. Recommend Swiss coffee for bedrooms. Start painting the bedrooms today. You don't have to do it all at once, but get a painter. I can recommend one to you. Start tackling the rooms and making them look fresh. Don't try to do this all in the last 60 days before you move out of your house. And I realize if kids are living in the house, et cetera, it's hard. right? But the prep phase is critical. The other thing too, and I did learn this from my friend John Walsh at Walsh Senior Solutions, you got a red tag, green tag. So here's what that means. The first place in your house you clean out is the garage, right? And why is that? Because everything in your house is going to go to your garage. So in your house, you're going to red tag stuff. The red tag stuff, you're just not bringing it with you. The green tag, you're bringing it with you, or maybe you're unsure. That's the stuff that goes to the garage. The red tag stuff goes right to the curb, right? There's a great app if you're in Princeton. It's called Trash Nothing or Free Cycle. Post it on the app, put it on the curb, it's gone. Like 2 minutes later. No, like people just take it. So again, this prep phase can last for a year. It can last for a couple of years, right? It can last for 60 days, but it is mission critical to prep effectively, right? The more you do it up front, the less stressed you are along the way. The third thing too is pricing, right? So a lot of sellers put their personal pride and ego in their price, right? And that's really not the way the market works. So sellers are afraid they're going to get lowballed, right? That's a phrase in the real estate business. I'm going to lowball them. You're not going to lowball them, you wingnut. You're going to bid to the market price. So if a house is on the market at $1 million, we determine that it's worth 800 and you offer 700, you're not lowballing them. You're negotiating and positioning your offer to bring it to the market price. Sellers, if your house is worth 800 and you list it for $1 million, or if it's worth 1.5 and you list it for 2, you're going to get lowballed because that buyer is going to bring you back to the market price. That's what that means. So pricing strategy is a really important strategy. And the one thing I can tell you is we break it down to 3 strategies. The first one is aspirational. So what does aspirational mean? Sort of like a celebrity house. There's no defined comps. There's a level of an emotional panache to this house that might work past the comparable sales. So unless you're a celebrity, this doesn't apply to you. Don't do aspirational pricing. And that means you price above the comparable market. The second style of pricing is what we call market-based pricing. So market-based pricing is like this. You put your house on the market, it's worth 1.5. You put it on at 1.5. You're probably going to get 1 or 2 offers. And as a seller, you don't have quite as much leverage over those offers. The third style, right, is very simple. It's party pricing. So what does that mean? It's worth 1.5. You put it on the market at 1.399. It's worth 1.7 and you put it on at 1.399. How's that? And sellers right now are freaking out. And what happens is you get multiple bids. You get the best terms, you get the best closing date, you get the least amount of home inspection issues in the contract because you have multiple bids. So when you think about pricing, you have to disassociate yourself from the property. There's 9 or 10 data points that determine the overall value of a house. Very important to go through them. The 10th in Princeton, I would say, is the ADU effectiveness, or the effectiveness of the lot to build an ADU. So we go left to right, we look at the value of the house, and then we ask you, how do you want to look at pricing? Do you want to look at it as a marketing tool? Or do you want to look at it as a negotiation tool? Do you want to negotiate up? Do you want to negotiate down? Do you want to get lowballed? Do you want to have 10 offers? It's up to you as the seller. It is a little gut-wrenching to do this. However, it is important that you price it right and you don't overextend yourself on the property. So let's talk about going live, right? And this is where, man. So I've been doing this 20 years. There's 2 types of buyers as a seller you need to know about, right? Aligned and unaligned. And I have a couple fresh examples for you from recent listings that are contingent. So you should never put your house in the market on a Monday. You should put it on a Wednesday or a Thursday. Why is that? Because as a seller, your home sells in direct proportion to the number of people who see it, both online and in person. So the only job of a listing broker is to prep your house, make it look awesome, and get buyers in the front door. That's their job. So if somebody says to you, we're going to sell your house off market because we have a private listing network, all they're looking to do is take your equity and give it to their broker. That's just insane. So what you're looking to do, right, is put your house on the market on a Wednesday, maybe Thursday morning, go live, first open house, either Thursday night or Friday night. Why is that? Because people go out of town. People have games. Kids have games. Kids have like 10,000 games on the weekend. So if I'm a parent with kids and I'm going to be away with my kids over the weekend at all these travel games, I'm going to come Thursday or Friday night, right? So Thursday or Friday night open house, and either Saturday and or Sunday open house, right? Just depends on you and your schedule. But I definitely recommend one during the week, and I recommend at least one on the weekend, the first weekend you're available. So here's an example of why you do this. There's two types of buyers, aligned and unaligned buyers. Aligned buyers have signed an exclusive buyer agency agreement with their buyer. They have a relationship with them. They have a contract with them, and their buyer is taking them out and showing them houses. That's number one. Number two is the unaligned buyer. They're looking on Zillow. They're looking on realtor.com. They're looking for your house and waiting for it to come on the market, but they don't necessarily have an agent. They're going to come to the open house, which is why you want to go coming soon, 7 days before you go live, pick the open houses, have them available, let the public know when it's going live. This is a product. It's a product launch, right? You're not trying to sell it to the brokers. You're trying to sell it to the buyers. So here's an example. Put a new listing on a Wednesday night. Showing started Thursday. You had an open house Thursday, 12 to 2, Friday evening, Saturday day, Sunday day. The buyer who ended up buying this property came to the property without their agent on Saturday, right? Saturday afternoon. Saw it online, got through their kid stuff, right? Came down. They were the last person in the open house on a Saturday at 4. They literally walked in the door at 3:59. And they were there for like 30 or 40 minutes. I happened to be there. I walked them through the house, the benefits of the house, living in the neighborhood. I used to live in the neighborhood. Had a very great discussion about it. Called her agent and said, I'm buying this house. Her agent's not even a member of the MLS. This is a closer to $2 million transaction. So sellers, you don't have to do an open house, but you're going to miss the unaligned buyers. This buyer's agent isn't even a member of the MLS that has our listing inventory in it. So think about that. So but for the internet and but for the open house and me at the open house explaining exactly the benefit of the house, this house would not have gone contingent, right? It would have had other offers, but this was the winning offer. Another person came Friday night, right? Another person who came to the house 4 times. They came Friday night at 6:30, came back Saturday, came back Sunday, all to the open houses, right? So the first night they came by themselves, second night they took their kids, third open house they took their broker. And that's the exact flow of the open house. So at another open house this past weekend, on a different listing, we had buyers come in without their agent. Their agent was occupied on Saturday, which happens. It's just a busy market, right? They spent about 45 minutes in the house. Just sent an offer on the house. So you don't have to have an open house sellers, but again, it's going to cost you money because your house does sell in direct proportion to the number of people who see it. So when you think about going live, it's not just putting it on the market on a Monday, letting the broker show it. It's putting it on the market Wednesday or Thursday, having a launch, the ad gets launched, the email goes out, everything happens, boom, boom, boom. We're trying to get buyers in your house. Why? Because your house sells in direct proportion to the number of people that see it. That's the game as a realtor working for a seller. So when you think about going live, it is a product launch. Step 5, offers and negotiation. So again, if you party price your house and you have 6 offers, it's a much more favorable negotiating scenario for a seller. If you overprice your house and you have 1 offer, you're going to pay a higher commission to the buyer's agent, right? You're not going to have as strong command and control on the negotiation on the home inspection terms, appraisal terms. If you have 5 or 6 or 7 offers or 3 offers, they may waive the appraisal. They may waive part of it. They may waive part of the home inspection. So again, price will dictate the volume of offers. The volume of offers will dictate, right, your negotiating position. Price will dictate the number of buyers that come. The condition dictates the number of buyers that come. So all these things are interrelated. They're not separate. So you could put your house on the market and party price it, but it looks like a dump. You're not going to get as many offers as if it's at least empty and cleaned, right? So offers and negotiation are commensurate with the prep. They're commensurate with the exposure that your house gets to the market through open houses, through the marketing of the property. So what happens when a house goes under contract? Well, the first thing obviously goes for attorney review. And when you're attorney review, as a reminder, it is not a binding contract. So in New Jersey, what does that mean? If you get a higher offer as the seller, you can take that offer. I always say you want to be willing to lose the one you have. in attorney review, the buyer can cancel. You can cancel. So once you're in review, it's not a done deal. Once you're at a review, then the deposit comes in. Once the deposit comes in, the buyer will schedule a home inspection. You will not have home inspection without that, right? They apply for their mortgage. As a listing agent, we're in touch with the LO. We interview the LO before we accept the offer, right? And if something comes up in home inspection, depending how the contract's structured, we'll deal with it. We'll get the final mortgage approval. We get all the town certifications, which are getting more and more strenuous. I will say Princeton, Eddington, Hopewell, West Windsor, Plainsboro, pretty tough CO requirements. So don't finish your basement without permits. You're going to end up tearing it out in any of those towns. So again, under contract, it starts to move towards closing, right? And then closing. So the closing is easy. Usually the seller doesn't even go to the closing, right? That's sort of a pre-COVID thing. The seller pre-signs. They do not go to the closing. Funds, generally speaking, are transferred unless the seller asks for a check. The deed transfers, then the keys transfer, and that's the end. But the end is a result of the prep. The end is a result of the painting. The end is a result of the photos. The end is a result of the 3D tour. It's a result of the launch on a Wednesday. The open houses and bringing people in, right? So the final price at the closing is dictated by all the little steps that happen along the way. And that's sort of how you have to look at it. The closing's not the end. It's the accumulation of a lot of things that happen along the way. So if you're thinking about selling or even just starting to consider it, please reach out. You can use the links in the description below. We will walk through your situation. We will build a strategy that actually makes sense for you. Again, based on timing, based on condition, based on your objectives. And again, thank you for tuning in. My name's Josh Wilton, and this is the Wilton Report. I'll see you next time.